Hello, the purpose of this video is to introduce journal assignment 13. So if we go to to the syllabus and schedule, this link over here. And I'll say, as I've said many times before, that what I say about V05 also applies to V06. On the syllabus, see, we go to topic outline and then down to week 13. You can see right here it says that the journal assignment is available. It's already in I'm recording this at 6:53 in the morning on November 16th. The video will become, the materials, the journal assignment will become available at 8 in the morning. And this video, I'm making it available around 10 in the morning. The assignment is due this week by the 21st, and that I think is a Saturday. And it can be turned in late up until Monday the 23rd. And of course, the time is always 11:59 p.m. for those submissions. We look at the assignments and course schedule, which I sometimes call the master schedule. Go down to week 13. There is the assignment. And there are the dates and times that I already mentioned. Let's see if we go to course content, we can find materials. Well, actually, let's just go to the weekly folder, week 13. So under learning activities, there's this introduction to journal assignment 13, this video. Maybe you already, of course, you're watching this after it's already produced, so maybe this is where you got, probably most of you got this video from here, from under learning activities. Before Monday, what was already available was the sample journal. Let me click on this right now. I made this one on Saturday. As you see, this is the journal. Journal assignment 13 has body paragraph A, body paragraph B, and body paragraph C. So this is body paragraph A, B, and C. And it's what I will be explaining today. Notice that there isn't an introduction or a conclusion, because I'm not asking you to turn in the introduction as a journal or the conclusion as a journal. Your essay 3 will have a head and a tail, I guess, right? It will have an introduction and a conclusion, but for the journal assignment due this Saturday, November 21st, you're only turning in the 3 middle paragraphs, like the body, right? Head, body, and tail, right? You're only turning in the body paragraphs for the journal. All right, so this was available from Saturday, since Saturday. Here you can see the essay 3 assignment, and I'm going to be clicking on this very soon, just a moment. And you can see toward the bottom the link to the journal assignment 13, and it's and the dates that I've already mentioned. Okay. All right, so what I'm going to do here is let me click on essay 3. It's very important that we have the materials, well, obviously that I have the materials that I need to explain this assignment, but of course you also need to have the materials you need as you prepare, as you write your journal assignment 13. and also as you write the essay, essay 3, as a whole in its complete form. So here we have, the journal assignment 11 video. And by the way, journal assignment 11 is still available. Right now it's 6:57 in the morning on Monday the 16th. Notice its late deadline is tonight. You can still turn in journal assignment 11 and also journal assignment 12. Of course, if you're watching this after the 16th, then no more. You can no longer turn it in. But I hope that those watching this video during the day or even during the night before 11:59 p.m. can still get that done. And in fact, if that's the case, do journal assignments 11 and 12 first, right? To get them in by the late deadline, and then later, maybe even a different day, right? Get journal assignment 13 done because this one isn't due till Saturday the 21st or even Monday the 23rd, right? It'd be very good if you could do all 3 journals. Let's see. So here are the instructions. Here is the essay 3 assignment, right? The essay itself is due on November 25th, and there's a late deadline of December 2nd. So you've got the essay 3 instructions and the essay 3 sample. Okay, this is a sample. And it says V05 because the heading will say English 100 V05. But of course, you know that it also applies. What I'm saying here also applies to English 0100 V06. So I'm going to click these instructions because we'll look at them. Various parts of these instructions we'll be taking a close look. And I've done that with you already when we did, when I introduced journal assignment 11, we looked at these instructions. And I know I referenced them. We took a look at them also in the video for journal assignment 12. All right, so that's here. And then also the sample. And I want you to take a look at the sample. This, as we will be looking at this several times. But it's really important. It's really important that that you understand that the journal assignment 13 is basically the middle of this essay. It's a big chunk of the essay, but it's just the middle. So this right here is the introduction. See, this right here is not part of journal assignment 13. Your introduction paragraph will not be part of any journal assignment, okay? These paragraphs right here, as I showed you just a few minutes ago, this is body paragraph A, right, from there to there. Here's the beginning of body paragraph B, and here's the beginning of body paragraph C, and here's the end of it, right? So that's what journal assignment 13 is, JA 13. This right here is the conclusion, right, which is not part of my journal assignment, but of course it has to be the ending or the tail, right, of the essay, of this creature we call an essay. Here are some other things that are not part of, well, actually, this is my journal assignment 12, right? I took what I turned in as journal assignment 12. You should have done one too, right? Which is my works cited, but now it's just the second to the last part, or rather the second to the last page of my essay. That's my works cited page. Okay. And then there is a last page, which is a figure. A figure is an image or a chart or a graph. And so I chose to put an image, basically a picture. And I imagine that that's the one you're going to choose too, right? You probably will be providing a picture of the person that you are writing about, or maybe a picture of something related to the person if you don't have a picture of the person. And so this is this figure. I mean, because there could have been I could have put a graph or a chart with some information related to the things to something I'm talking about in the essay. But I thought the best thing to put is a picture of the man himself, the person that I'm talking about, that my essay is about. Okay. So, and I'll say more about this. So I'll take a moment toward the end of the video to say something about this, even though it's not part of journal assignment 13. And I will take a moment to say something about the introduction and the conclusion, even though they're not part of journal assignment 13, even though it's not a part either of journal assignment 13. Okay, so I'm leaving these two documents open, right, so that I can refer to them during this, right? But I have this on my desktop. I just have this stuff right here. So I'm actually going to, I know I already opened the essay, right, the essay, but I'm opening it now as a Word document. In fact, if I have it as a Word document, then I don't think I need the other one. I don't need the one that's a PDF file. And this one actually is generic. On this one, it doesn't say English V05 or V06, and it doesn't have the date. But I'll be using this document to show you a couple of things. And then I also have an additional couple of other documents. I have two other versions of the essay 3 sample. So it's the same essay, but I've done something slightly differently on these other two versions. Okay, so I'll be using that. And let's see. Let me also, as I do this, here in the instruction page, there are a couple of links. A link to we look at the second page of the instructions, where I talk about the internet article, which is the internet article that I cited in my works cited page, and that you should have done the same thing with your journal assignment 12 in your works cited page. And for that, for the works cited, there's this right here. So I'm opening that too. Oh, I opened it, but then it replaced the thing. So let me go back. Okay, there is a way to do that. That's to create an additional tab. So I'll right click instead, and I'll say open in a new tab. Okay, that way it doesn't replace this tab, right? Okay, so I'll probably refer to this briefly. And then also there is the citations, how to do a citation. In other words, how to give credit to an article within or inside the paragraph where I mentioned the article. So I'll do the same thing. I'll open this right here because I'll be making reference to it. Okay, so we have everything we need. We have the instructions. We got these couple of other sources where these things are explained. And of course, I have these documents over here, which is basically, this is the one that I use. This is the one that's attached within the essay 3 form where you're going to submit your essay. But I have a couple of additional documents that they look the same because they are the same, except for one part that's different. A couple of parts that are different that I'll use to explain. All right. So now let's go back. Actually, yeah, I'm going to go back to over here because I feel like the weekly folder is home. It's a place where all the things are kind of gathered together. And I'm going to click on the assignment itself, right? Because the essay isn't due yet this week, right? It's due next week. Or if you take up until the late deadline, it would be the week after that. So let's click on what's due now, which is the journal assignment. So there you see the heading or the title at the top. And I'm just going to read it. So journal instructions. Let me make this a little bit larger. On a Word or similar document, type your Essay 3's body paragraph A, body paragraph B, and body paragraph C. Hint, use your informal outline or ordered list from JA11. In one of the paragraphs, you must mention information from the article listed in your Works Cited section for Journal Assignment 12, and you must provide 1 or 2 MLA-style in-text citations. In one of the paragraphs, number 3, in one of the paragraphs, you must mention an image, chart, graph, or similar item that somehow relates to your family member. Number 4, save your document in one of the following file types, right there. 5, press create journal entry. 6, type the title, JA13. And then 7, attach your Word or similar document within the attach files box. Note, if you prefer to type your journal entry directly in the entry message box, please see the second main section in the guidelines below. So you would see this right here. Guidelines. So what do I write about in my journal entry? And so here's the answer. Your Essay 3's second, third, and fourth paragraphs, which are the body paragraphs A, B, and C. Attention, you must read all of the Essay 3 instructions carefully. For a sample, please see the video. Well, that's this video right here. And the document Journal Assignment 13 sample, right? I'm not going to read, students, the rest of it, but make sure you read and understand these other things. If you don't, if you have a doubt about it, some kind of concern, then please ask me, okay? Because let me tell you that the tragedy that can happen, you could do all the work, spend a long time on it, turn it in, and then let's say that I'm not able to open your document, and then you will earn a 0 for it because there are guidelines you didn't follow. That doesn't happen often, but it does happen. And at that point, I can't give you a grade or a score for something that I couldn't open and read, okay? That's just common sense. So make sure you read this so you can avoid problems of that nature. All right, so this is journal assignment this is the instructions. And of course, once you're ready to turn it in, you press here, right? As it says in the instructions, you type JA13. And then you can type your I guess your 3 paragraphs here, right? You can put them in there. And then you click on here, I'm sorry. If you're going to just type them here, right? And they're going to be in the entry message box, and you just click post entry. On the other hand, my preference is that you prepare your document on prepare a Word document, that you save it on your computer or somewhere or on a USB, and then you click attach, you browse for it, attach it, and then click post entry. All right, so that's how that is done. That's pretty easy, and many of you have been doing this the whole semester. This is the 13th and final journal of the semester and of the calendar year, right? Because it's December, so I mean it's November, and then next month December. So the last journal of the year, at least for this class. I don't know, you might have another class with some more journals. Okay, so that is that. Okay, so now you know how to turn in the assignment and what it's about. So the next step here is to look at the instructions for the essay. So the body paragraphs, I mean, in general, looking here under requirements, it's no different than other essays in that it should be minimum of 600 words, maximum of 1,200. That it has, as I've already pointed out, even though the journal doesn't include, even though I did not ask you, I'm not asking you to turn in your introduction as part of a journal or your conclusion as part of a journal. Your essay still has to have those things, right? The head and the tail of the magical creature called college essay, right? But the body of that creature is, the biggest part, right? The middle part, which is the 3 paragraphs, body paragraphs A, B, and C. And these instructions are identical to the instructions in all of the in all 3 essays. These instructions have not, many of you have not followed. Many of you have, okay? I'm sorry, I started with the negative. But many of you have followed the instructions, okay? All the way, completely. Actually, I'm wrong. A very few have followed the instructions completely. Many of you have followed the instructions partially. And I'm talking about essays 1 and 2. Some of you have followed the instructions not at all. You kind of just wrote however many sentences you wanted in whatever order. And then some of you have done no work at all, okay? And anyway, you know what? I'm saying some of you, perhaps those some of you are not even watching this video, right? So maybe it's out of that. I didn't even need to say that. But it's important that the body paragraphs begin with one brief sentence. That means a short sentence where you introduce that thing you're talking about. In this essay, you're talking about someone that you're a person from your family, probably an older person, probably and possibly someone who's already passed away, right? Someone who died. But you wanted to know more about their life. And so you're going to pick 3 things to talk about that person, right? And of course, please see videos for journal assignments 11 and 12 on that. And this instruction sheet also has that, but I already went through, explaining that, and this video would be like 3 hours long. It will definitely be over 1 hour long. But it would be about 3 hours if I explained everything for journal assignments 11 and 12 again, right? So let's just get to the point. Whatever thing you're talking about, whatever thing you're focusing on in this paragraph, write one short sentence to introduce that topic. And then here's the point, students. You must have 6 sentences after that sentence. I don't know. I just don't understand how people don't get this. Okay, pardon my frustration, but it is very frustrating. Sometimes some of the paragraphs have 6 sentences total. That's not what it says. It doesn't say body paragraph should have a total of 6 sentences. No, it says the sentences in the middle of the paragraph should be 6, right? The number of sentences should be 6. You begin with one sentence. You follow it with 6 sentences to support that sentence, right? We give lots of details on that thing you're talking about. And then, that's not the end. Then you close with 1 or 2 sentences, right? And that's it. So really, it's a minimum of 8. A minimum brief topic sentence, 6 sentences of detail, that's the minimum, and then 1 closing sentence. So it's a minimum of 8 sentences. This, for really the very few essays, have had that minimum requirement. Okay, actually not very few. Few. Okay, very few. It's almost like 2 or 3. No. Few, just few. Okay, so that's very important, and I will be literally highlighting my topic sentence, my 6 topic sentence, my 6. Sorry, I'll be highlighting. And it's true for each paragraph, right? I'll be highlighting my topic sentence. I'll be highlighting my 6 or more detailed sentences. And I'll be highlighting my 1 or 2 closing remarks sentences. And think of it as a head, a body, and a tail, okay? So I told you that overall, the essay has a head, a body, right? And a tail. That's the essay as a whole. But in the body section, there are 3 paragraphs. And each paragraph itself has its own little head, body section, and tail, right? Does that make sense? So it's kind of like it's the same structure is inside the paragraph, kind of, that is in the overall structure, right? But with different labels. Okay, so I'm pausing on that because that's very important. And again, people have been losing points, right? Let me like speak to me in a language that I understand, Mr. Perez. Okay, here's the language I'm speaking in. Don't lose points. You have been. You've been losing points. So for when you rewrite your essays 1 and 2, that's one of the things that many of you need to do. You need to make sure that you have the right number of sentences, because many people do not. Many essays do not have those. And of course, for essay 3, why wait till the final draft? You might as well do it on the first draft. Okay. So I think that's probably the most important thing to talk about right now. So I'll be coming back to this instruction sheet when there's time to emphasize something else that's on it. Okay. Before I leave though, as far as the overall word count, is that 600 to 1200. So really it doesn't matter if this paragraph is 200 words or 300 words or 150. And the same thing for the other body paragraphs. So I don't give a word count requirement per paragraph. It's just that overall, from the introduction to the conclusion, it should be somewhere between 600 and 1200, all right, overall. So I'm not going to worry too much about it. And so as I wrote my essay, I just typed my paragraphs and whatever came out. And then when combined with my introduction and with my conclusion, I saw that my essay was somewhere, it was about 1,100 and some words. So it didn't go over the limit. It didn't go over it was, all my essays always meet the minimum. I have no problem meeting minimums. My problem is keeping it so that it doesn't go above the maximum. And it didn't. It didn't. So again, I would say the same thing with you. As you write your paragraphs, don't worry too much about the word count. You will worry about that or make sure that it's right once you put it all together. Okay? So I'll say no more about that in this video. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and whenever I feel a little lost or not sure where to go, I go back home, okay? Which is go back to week 13, right? Which I consider the home of everything. And so since I already have this journal assignment here. I've had this since Saturday. You haven't had it because I don't think it's, let's see, is it accessible? Right, it says here that it's so right now it's still 7:21, so it's not available yet, but you might not be awake. People might not be awake anyway, so it wasn't a problem. Again, past tense because you're watching this after 10 a.m. on November 16th. So let's see, I opened it. Is it this one? Here it is. So, and so this is the journal, and notice I just called it journal assignment 13, and I just pasted in, you know, body paragraph. I don't really care what it says here, right? If it says journal assignment 13, that's good enough. You see, this isn't the essay's title, is it, right? Now, in your case, yours should have your first name and your last name, English 100, V05 or V06, and then a date written out, okay? And maybe it should already say your last name here, right, with the page number. But I'm not too worried about that. What I want to see, what I need to see is the 3 body paragraphs, so I can give you feedback on those paragraphs and see if you did it right. And again, remember, I want to give you feedback on this before you put everything together as your essay 3 and submit it next week. Okay? So that's what matters more than the format. So here is my journal assignment, the paragraphs for it. Let me make this larger. Okay. All right, that's really big right there. That's good. So here is my introduction. I'm sorry. You know, I said that wrong, so let me go back over here. I want to emphasize the right thing. Here's body paragraph A, right? I said introduction, but that was the wrong word. My topic sentence, right? So my topic sentence. One way to know a person is by the person's work. That's my topic sentence. I use the key word, work. This is my paragraph about work. Okay, I'm talking about my great-grandfather, Francisco Mujica, who was known as Pancho. Okay, and in this paragraph, I'm focusing on his work, the work that he did throughout his life. All right, so this is my topic sentence. Notice how short it is. It can be a little longer, but don't write a long sentence. Don't avoid commas on your topic sentence. Commas get people in trouble. Commas are not bad. Okay, I use commas everywhere. There are commas all over the place, right? There's a few commas right there. Hold on. I want to prove that I use commas. There you go. There's a comma. There's commas everywhere, all right? And semicolons too, and so on and so forth. I'm not saying commas are bad, but often the comma is, I mean, a way to add something else, right? And so you shouldn't be adding things to your topic sentence. You should be saying one thing and then saying things afterwards in the sentences that follow. Friendly advice: keep that topic sentence short. Okay? You know I have a lot to say, right? You can't judge me that, oh, Mr. Perez writes short sentences because he has nothing to say. You know me better by now, right? So I purposefully kept that sentence short because it's like the tip of a pen or the tip of a pencil, right? It's very, very small, very short, and yet very important. And no one can miss the tip of a pen or pencil. You know it's there. And that's what you use. Even though the pencil's long, you cannot miss the tip of the pencil or the pen. That's how your topic sentence should look: short and obvious and clear. Everybody knows, you know, right, that this paragraph will be about the person's work, because I tell you that, and there's no way to miss it because the sentence is short. Okay, then after that come my six or more supporting sentences. None of my paragraphs have only 6. All of my paragraphs have more than 6. So I'm not going to bother to count them, okay? I don't want to spend time on counting them here. You know, like count how many, you know, here 1, 2, and so on and so forth. Trust me, and you can do it yourself. Each of my paragraphs has 6 or has more than 6. But the minimum of 6 is 6, okay? In essays 1 and 2, many students have missed the minimum. They've only had 4 or 5 or 3 or even 2 or 1. And part of that is periods. I think some of you meant to have 6 or more sentences, but since instead of using periods, you use commas and semicolons. Again, you can use commas, but commas don't end sentences. So I will know you've ended a sentence because you put a period on it. Okay? And so some of you thought you had 6 sentences in between the topic sentence and the closing sentence, but you didn't. So make sure you use periods, a period at the end of each of your sentences. All right. So here I am. I'm highlighting the various details that relate to the work that my great-grandfather Pancho did. So all those are 6 or more sentences. And then here is my closing sentence, okay? You can have 1 or 2 closing remark sentences that clearly wrap up the main point or part or whatever it is for the paragraph. Oh, I mean, I did this one, but it doesn't matter. This one here, right? I was looking at body paragraph A, but they're all the same. The structure is the same for each one. So notice, like anyone, he probably would have liked to become wealthy, but his mission was serving the public through his work. In the previous sentence, I had said, Pancho always took care of his family, but never became rich. In his old age, when I met him, he lived in a very small home. Like anyone, he probably would have liked to become wealthy, but his mission was serving the public through his work. So notice maybe those are my final two sentences. I don't know if you consider these two as my closing remarks or this one as my closing remarks. But notice I use the word work, so it's absolutely clear that I'm closing the paragraph on that. I'm going to move on to body paragraph B, but please excuse me from having to come back to this. I'm not going to do that anymore, okay? So here's body paragraph B. Notice how short the sentence is. I learned about a few aspects of Pancho's personality. So this is my paragraph about my great-grandfather Pancho's personality, okay? These right here are the sentences, 6 or more sentences about his personality, details about that. And then here is my closing sentence. Due to his rich personality, everyone called him Don Panchito, and community leaders and doctors respected him and were his close friends. So there's the word, personality, right? So I was going to say something, right? So again, emphasizing that we've got this little head, right? We got the body, right? And we've got the tail. But please don't get confused with me using the word body for this, because the whole thing is called a body paragraph. But inside the body paragraph, if you look at it as a creature, it's got a head, it's got a big body, right? And it's got a little tail, I guess, because it's just one sentence. All right. And then body paragraph C. Notice this was a little bit longer sentence, but notice, and I did use a comma, and that's fine. But it's not a comma that made my sentence really long. It's not like comma, blah, 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 comma, blah, 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 comma, blah, blah, blah. Forgive me, but that is what I see a lot in some of your so-called topic sentences. I don't think some of you really are getting that concept. And please get it, okay? I'm telling it to you right now, and I'm leading by example, right? I've written, this is my third essay I've written this semester. And all of my essays have had very clear and short topic sentences. Please follow my example. Okay? I'm not telling you follow me off the cliff and we're all going to fall and die. No, I'm saying the opposite. Follow me up the mountain. We're going to climb and we're going to get up there and enjoy the view, right? Because we're doing it right. I'm doing it right, and please, you do it right also. So this is a little bit longer sentence, but it's still short. By the way, if your sentence is a little longer and it goes, let's say something like that, or even something like that, that's fine, as long as it's clearly an introduction, topic sentence. Not introduction, but topic sentence, right? And I think I have, in essays 1 and 2, I did have topic sentences that kind of went into the second line or something. That's fine. But the key is not comma, blah, 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 comma, blah, 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 comma, blah, 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 comma, blah, 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 blah. Okay? All right? Please don't get offended at me saying that, but I need to tell you that you shouldn't do that in your opening sentence. The blah, 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 blahs should be additional sentences, right, that come after the topic sentence. Okay, so here's my topic sentence. Besides his many work responsibilities, Pancho had some meaningful pastimes, right? So I'm saying that, earlier I said that he worked a lot, right? He did some work, but he also had some pastimes or hobbies, right? And so there's my topic sentence. Here is the blah, 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 right? These sentences, these detailed sentences are the blah, 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 right? Properly placed. And then here is my closing remark sentence for the body paragraph, C. So it's clear that through music and gardening, Pancho looked after his emotional and physical health, and that he loved his family and life's rich blessings. So notice how clear that is. All right, students, so I am going to let you read these paragraphs on your own, okay? Because I don't want to take time in this video to read them with you when you can simply read them yourselves, okay? But there are a couple of things that I am going to emphasize from each paragraph, okay? So When we look at this, let's go back to the instructions for a moment. One of the instructions here says that, let's see. Okay. This is the second page of the instruction sheet. For your essay, find an internet article related to one of the three things. Mention information from that article in the body paragraph in which you talk about that thing, and provide 1 or 2 MLA style in-text citations. Here is the link for citation. So if we look, when I clicked on that link earlier, right, it took me to this one, okay? So let me see. If you'll notice that this right here is a quote, right? So imagine that this is part of someone's essay, of a student who wrote a paragraph and included this sentence in the paragraph. Notice that at the end, there's a parenthesis that says impact of global warming. Well, that right there is the title of an article. Imagine that that student has a works cited that has this. Notice the impact of global warming. So this would be a sentence that would be in the paragraph. This would be the works cited entry in the works cited page. This one says, according to Frank. Frank is a last name. And then here's a quote, and then there's a page number at the end. Imagine that this is part of a student's paragraph, and that in their works cited page, in that student's works cited page, they have this listed. Okay. I want to show you, let's see if I can. Let me see if I can do it. Yeah, MLA sample paper. Okay. All right, here it is. And please don't mind all these boxes around it, okay? In this paper, let's see if it's a good, yeah. Notice there was this paragraph right here. Let me make this a little bit bigger. There's this paragraph, blah, 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 blah. This is a completely different topic, right? But there's this paragraph, and in it, the student gives a quote, right, from an article. And at the end of it puts Danhof 5. Why? Because Danhof is the author of the article from which the student got the quote. Why does it say 5? Because the student got it on page 5. And notice the student didn't put page 5. The student just wrote Danhof 5. That doesn't give a lot of information, but at least we know that this came from a person whose last name was Danhof, and that it came from page 5. The rest of the information is on the works cited page. If we scroll all the way down to the works cited page, see, you're going to have a similar thing, right? You will have works cited. You're not going to have all these silly boxes, that explain stuff. But you'll have that. And notice, there it is, Danhof, Clarence H., and the other information. So do you see how that's done? Okay. Let me go back so I can go back to the in-text citations page. Make sure you read this page, okay? You can read the example also. And of course, you have my example, which we're going to come back to right now. All right, so for that, I'm going to open the Word document that has the whole thing, okay? That has the entire essay. And here is the paragraph in which I used the source. And let me, for a moment, go down to the works cited. I use this source right here, this article, and this is the web page where I found it. Remember, you need to find your source on the internet, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open that source right over here. It lets me. Okay, so this is where this is what I read, and I found a quote from around here, and I already explained this in Journal Assignment 12, okay? And it's this is the title of the article. This is the website that it's found in the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services website. And the author, it doesn't have an author. I'm sure somebody wrote it, but it doesn't have an author listed. It does have a date though, July 29th, 2020. This is the information that I used when I prepared my Works Cited page. For that, to do that, when we go to the, remember in the instruction sheet, there's a section about the Works Cited page, right? I think it's on the 3rd page of the instructions, right? I clicked on this link and it opened up this right here, which shows the format this is the basic format, and then there are lots of examples. And so I use this, and you can see how I did that on my Journal Assignment 12 video, okay? So that's how I created the Works Cited entry for that. And I also explained that most of what's in the essay comes from my interview with my mom, Hilda Perez. And I also learned the format for that using that website. Okay, please watch the Journal Assignment 12 video for information about that. Okay, because I am not focusing on the Works Cited in this video. So I'm going back now. I'm going back to the paragraph where I'm trying to explain things. Okay. So here's my paragraph. One way to know a person is by the person's work. Although Pancho was born in Mexico, he worked and lived in large farms in the Lockhart, Texas area, where he came to be very well respected by the owners because he knew everything about farming, including how to use all the modern equipment. With all that experience under his belt, in 1939, Pancho moved with his wife and kids to an area just across the border that would be known as Vallehermoso. The Mexican government was giving away land to people of Mexican background living in the U.S. to get them to cultivate the land. An estimated, okay, so I'm sorry, I was about to read, but then notice something happens here until it becomes a quote. So what I've been doing is I've explained a little bit about his work experience, but a lot of his work happened after he moved from Texas to Mexico, as it says here. And up to here, these are things my mom told me, okay? My mom told me this in the interview, so I didn't put a citation for it, okay? I don't want you to be putting like the name of the person you interviewed all over the essay. It's enough that you have it right here, right? That's enough. And it's important that, because otherwise you'd be putting that on every sentence, because most of your essay is coming from either your personal knowledge about the person or what the person you interviewed told you, right? Which could be the person you're writing about or someone who knew the person. In this case, I interviewed my mom, Hilda Perez, who knew my grandfather, Francisco or Pancho Mujica. So you don't have to put quotes on the things that the person you interviewed told you, right? I didn't put quotes around what my mom told me. And anyway, my mom spoke in Spanish, and so I put everything in English anyway, right? But even if they talk to you in English during the interview, just go ahead and put the information in your own words as much as possible, and don't worry about putting quotation marks around what they told you, okay? But this didn't come from the interview. I found something that related to what I'm talking about in this paragraph. And so I found this quote. An estimated 400,000 to 1 million Mexicans and Mexican Americans left the U.S. from Mexico during the Depression. The majority returned to Mexico by their own decision or through officially voluntary repatriation programs. And then here is a parenthesis. Quote, INS records for 1930. So let me explain why I did this. First of all, why are there ... dots everywhere? Those are there because I skipped some things, okay? If we go back to the article, I quoted material within here, but there were some things that I knew I didn't need. That wasn't that important. And here's a very important thing that I need to tell you. Please, your quote shouldn't go above, let's say, 80 words. If we look from here, where is the quote's just from here to here, right? It's only, I can't see it. I'll just count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32. Okay. Because I'm recording the video, I can't see the little part where it has how many words are in it toward the bottom of the Word document. 32 words. That quote's fine. 30 words, 50 words, 60 words, 80 words. Let's say 85 words or so, okay? I'm not going to give a hard limit, but students, the quote shouldn't be the paragraph. If you do that, if your quote is the paragraph, if the whole paragraph is just the quote, then who cares? I don't care about your quote, okay? Please follow my example. My quote is a small part of a much larger paragraph. Again, if your quote takes over the paragraph, I'm just going to ignore your paragraph. Because so did you. You didn't write a paragraph. You just put a quote on there. Students, general rule. If you think you're getting away with something, you're not. If it's really easy, then you're doing it wrong. Okay? I'm not trying to be mean. I'm being realistic with you. Okay? And someone who's a good judge, a fair and honest person like I am, will see through that, and we'll see through it. And I'm trying to snap my fingers, I can't, but we'll see through it in 1 or 2 seconds. Okay, a snap of a finger that you avoided the work. Okay, so I didn't avoid the work. I wrote my paragraph myself with the information from the interview with my mom, and I included a short quote from it. We're talking 1 or 2 sentences, and since I saw that what I wanted to quote was really long, I skipped stuff that wasn't important and then quoted it, okay? So that's really important, okay? And then I kept going, Pancho cleared the 60 acres he was granted with the help of, all right, so the rest of the paragraph continues talking about his work. But this is the quote that I included. It relates to the paragraph. That's another thing. Don't put some random quote that has nothing to do with your paragraph, right? No. What I wrote here is something related to what I'm talking about. Okay. Why did I quote it like this? Well, first of all, quotation marks to show that I copied. I copied and I pasted information. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with it as long as you provide the quotations. If the quotations are missing, I will consider the information plagiarized and you will get a 0 on the essay. Because if the quotations are missing, let me do it for a moment. Without the quotations, I'm kind of saying that those are my words and they're not. Okay? So the quotation marks need to be there. Secondly, what is this parentheses for? This parentheses is to show that it came from that article. So if we go back to the article, this is the name of the article, but it's a really long article. INS records for 1930s Mexican repatriations. When I look at the guidelines here about citations, and there are several examples shown throughout the page. What I saw was that sometimes instead of putting the whole title, they would abbreviate it. Maybe like 1 or 2 words, 3 words, like tops 4 words. So that's what I did. I took the first 4 words of the title and that's what I put. And actually, what I could have put there was the author's last name. Really, that's what should have gone there, the author's last name. But as I already told you, as I already showed you, it doesn't list the author's last name. It doesn't list any name. So I couldn't put it. So I did the next best thing. I put the name of the article in parentheses. Notice I have the quote, space, parentheses, quotation marks, the title of the article, but shortened, just 4 of the words, quotation mark for the end of the title, close parentheses, and then the period. A lot of people make the mistake of putting the period right here. So I'm gonna make the mistake for a moment. This is the way a lot of people do it, and it's wrong, okay? The period doesn't go here. The period goes over here, kicked to the end, okay? Now, students, let me show you an alternative, okay? instead of doing it like this with a parenthesis at the end, I could have done it a different way. In other words, I read the guidelines over here, and I saw different ways of doing the same thing. Okay, so I can mention this up front in the sentence. Well, let me do that. So just watch me do this. Again, what I did here was right. There's nothing wrong with this. I'm just showing you a different way, another way of doing it right. So watch what I'm doing here. According to, and I wish I could put an author's last name there. I wish I could, but I can't because I don't know the author's name. It wasn't listed. So I'm taking the information that's in the parentheses, and I'm actually going to get rid of the parentheses because I don't need it anymore. Now the period will move into here. It has to move somewhere. It doesn't go after, it goes here. Okay. And over here is where I'm going to put according to, notice what I did, and I'm going to put a comma right there. So according to INS records for 1930s, comma, and then the quote, and that's it. And then there's nothing over here. There's no parentheses. There's nothing. So this is the way I'm handling it now, or presenting the citation now. So basically I'm saying according to where I got it from, and then the quote afterwards. Okay? Does that make sense? All right. So that is another way of doing it right. Mentioning either the author or the abbreviated title up front. And you're saying, why are you mentioning the author? Because that's something we could have put here. I could have put the author here or in the other way that I had it in the parentheses, but there wasn't an author to put there. Okay? So this is an alternative to what I have on the sample essay and the sample journal that I posted on Blackboard for you. Okay, so take a good look at it and pause it, watch this video as many times, take a picture of it, right, as you're watching the video, right, preferably, etc., right? This is an alternative. And how I learned to do that was by looking up the rules and the examples on this page, which is linked inside the Essay 3 instructions, right? You got it? Okay. So that's how I'm doing that. I'm going to go back. I'm just doing an undo over here. I'm undoing until I get back to the way it was at the beginning. Oh, you know what, students? Let me do one more thing. So hold on. I was trying to get back to the way it was before, but no, let me continue with this for just a moment. This is a really good way of introducing an article like that. According to the author or the article, comma, and then the quote. But there are other ways too. You could say something like, in the article, blah, 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 it says, right? I don't think I need the comma here, right? In the article, blah, 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 it says, and then that, right? So there are different ways of saying that. I like the according to blah, 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 because it's very convenient. Like a lot of people understand that means according to blah, blah, blah means that I'm going to present something that was in that article or by the person you're quoting, right? But there are other things you can say besides according to blah, 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 comma, and then the quote, okay? Other ways of doing it, okay? Now I'm going to go back, okay? I'm doing Control Z on my keyboard, but you can also do it through here, through this back arrow, right? And I'm putting it back, right? I'm putting it back the way I found it. That's it, right? This is the way it was. No, is it? I think so, right? Because I had it with the quote, and then with this over here. Okay. All right, now, you got that? I kept mentioning that I wished that I could put the author's name here, right? Or when I did it in the alternative manner, that I could put the according to the author, comma, and then the quote. Well, I want to show you those examples. So what I'm going to do is I have another, I have the same essay with the same sentences and everything. But I went ahead and found a different article for this one, okay? There's nothing wrong with the other one. But for this one, my works cited, notice now I have Perez Hilda first and Walsh Casey. So I found a different article, okay, to show you a different example. And on my works cited, now Perez Hilda is first and Walsh Casey is second. Before I had the article, I'll just show you. Right, I have it like this. I have INS, blah, 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 and then Perez Hilda. Why? Because it's alphabetical. The I of INS comes before the P of Perez, okay? But in my other example, in this alternative example, P comes before W because I found an article by a person whose name is Casey Walsh. So guess what? I found an article where it does list the article. So here is the URL, copying it. I'm going to paste it. So I found another article, and actually this article is better than the one I found. This one is really cool because it talks about, look, it even mentions Vallehermoso, the place where Francisco Mujica moved to, right? And where my mom was born. She even, in the interview, she even mentioned the 18 de Marzo, the name of the kind of the settlement where they did their farming, where they moved to and did their farming. So it's a really cool article, and I ended up not using it, but then I thought, hey, I'm going to give an alternative example and use it. And so I read it. It's a really good article. And I ended up quoting from, trying to find the part that I quoted from. Let me see. So I quoted from, I'm trying to remember what I quoted. Well, it's right here, right? So let's see, let's go back to that paragraph. During the summer of 1939, so that's what I'm looking for. That's what I got. During the summer of 1939, hundreds of Mexicans. Okay, so let's see, where is that part? During the summer of 1939, it wasn't too deep into the article. I might need to do a search. Oh, I'm sorry, it's right here at the beginning. Here it is. During the summer of 1939, hundreds of Mexicans and Mexican Americans from Houston packed their belongings, climbed aboard buses, and headed south to Matamoros, Tamaulipas. That's the general area, to across the border from Brownsville, Texas. Yeah, that's what I quoted. They had been planning for this move since the spring when President Lázaro Cárdenas sent these guys to their towns to offer them free land, okay, if they were willing to dedicate themselves to the hard work of clearing it and farming cotton on it. So that's what I quoted. I don't think I quoted the whole thing, though. Let me see. Let's take a look at it. Maybe I did. I didn't quote the whole thing. Notice there's some parts that I skipped. So again, notice this quote is longer. This is the same essay, students. It's the same essay I showed you earlier, but it's got a longer quote. I think I'm not going to count, but I think it's about, 80 words or so. But it's still pretty short considering that my paragraph goes from here to here. Again, information from the interview with my mom. And then after the quote, I still have all this right here. So my longer quote in this one didn't take over my paragraph. It's still a small section of a large paragraph. Remember, if you turn in a paragraph, if your quote is it's kind of, I don't want to say the exact percentage, but definitely if it's half the paragraph, it's too much, right? So again, I'm saying this again. So I'm showing you a good example, right? I'm being a good example to you here. My quote isn't too long. It's just a small part of a large paragraph, okay? I would say it's about 1/3 the size of my paragraph. And it makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? Because I was saying that, Pancho moved with his family down to a place that later would become known as Vallehermoso. the Mexican government was giving away land. Again, I knew that from the interview. And by the way, and even before the interview, I'd heard that all my life. It's just that my mom gave me more details a few weeks ago during the interview. And so here's my quote. According to Walsh, during the summer of 1939, hundreds of Mexicans and Mexican Americans from Houston, Austin, and a number of smaller towns in Texas, here's where I skipped some stuff, headed south to Matamoros, Tamaulipas, across the Rio Bravo from Brownsville, Texas. Here's where I skipped some stuff. They had been planning for this move since the spring when Mexican President Lázaro Cárdenas sent Ramon Beteta and Manuel Gamio to their towns to offer them free land if they were willing to dedicate themselves to the hard work of clearing it and farming cotton on it. Now, there's a to right there. There's a reason why it says to there. And then notice the paragraph continues. Pancho cleared the 60 acres he was given with the help and so on and so forth, right? However, Pancho didn't work his own land where cotton was the main crop. Notice how perfect that quote is. And I'm wondering, how come I didn't put this one? You know what? I think the reason I didn't put this quote is that it was really long. And I wanted to give an example of a shorter quote, okay? But this is, I think, a better quote, right? Than the one that I ended up using as a sample, both for the journal and for the essay. But that's fine. I mean, at least you're looking at it, so I'm still using it because I'm a little sad that I didn't end up using it. It's such a beautiful quote. Oh, you know what? Perhaps a reason that I use this other quote is that I don't want you to feel the pressure of finding the perfect quote, because I think that other one is the perfect quote. This one's a little more general, right? It doesn't mention Vallehermoso. It doesn't mention, things that are exactly like what my mom said. So I did it so that you wouldn't feel the pressure that your quote had to be perfect or else sir, I didn't find one. No, find something that's good enough and put it, okay? That would be very blunt about that, right? Don't make this harder than it has to be, all right? But this really is the perfect quote for this essay and for this paragraph. But let me go back to explaining it. Notice here I could say, and I chose the according to method, right? And I could have done it differently. I could have said in an article by Walsh. Walsh is the person's last name. What's his name? His name is Casey Walsh, right? But there's no need to mention first names. We usually don't mention first names. Okay, we usually don't mention first names. So I could have put in an article by Walsh, and then it says, actually, I think we would need the comma right there. An article by Walsh, comma, it says, and then comma again. You can also use these, but I usually just use commas. So an article by Walsh, comma, it says, blah, 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 right? That we could have done that. Or what's a very normal, not a normal, but a very useful and common way of doing it is to put according to Walsh, comma, blah, 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 blah. Notice that that's similar to the alternative method that I used for that other article that I cited, right? In the other version of the essay. The question, though, is why do I have this little to here? There's a reason for that. In the article that I'm citing, it actually has page numbers. Notice, this is page 1, but it doesn't show it. But notice right there, it says page 2, page 3, page 4, page 5. Students, these are not pages from a printout. Those don't count. But pages that are actually shown on the web page itself, like that, like notice 2, 3 on the article, those you must mention. And so it's the first page of the article, but this is page 1. And so it says 2. So I had to say what page it was from. It was from page 2. My quote was right here, right? So we come back to it. I put a little 2 in parentheses at the end. Now let me show you the other way of doing this. So his name is Walsh, right? I could have done it the way I did the other sample, which was that after what I said, what came from the interview, blah, 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 I just started the quote. Notice my quote just starts with a quotation, and then here's everything I copied, right? Because copying is fine as long as you use quotation marks, right? And then over here, that parentheses is in the right place. Because here I'm going to put Walsh. And where did I learn to do that? You know where I learned to do that, right? I learned it in this thing right here, which is what's linked inside your instruction sheet, right? So I went ahead and said, I'm doing it differently, right? During the summer of blah, 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 blah. So this is all quoted. And so basically in the parentheses, I tell you where the quote comes from. It comes from an author whose last name is Walsh on the second page of his article, Walsh 2. And I know that's not a lot of information, but we can find out the rest of it over here. Walsh is a person named Casey Walsh. And it comes from this article. And it comes from this website. And it was an article that was found on November 20th. An article that was published on November 20th, 2020. Not 20th, 2020. This is the website. And this is when I'm Mr. Perez, who wrote this article, when I accessed it. I accessed it today, this morning, 16th of November, 2020. And I talk about this, the format and everything, in the video for Journal Assignment 12. Make sure you watch that because I don't want to take time to explain that in this video. Okay, but I found this information inside the web page itself, inside that article, and so that's what I put here. But that's what goes in the works cited. I think the idea is not to clutter up the paragraph with too much information. You know, the quote already is taking so much space. We don't want to have a parentheses with a million pieces of information there. A lot of students do that incorrectly. A lot of people just, okay, the thing that most people do wrong is they'll put the web page, the www blah, blah, blah there. That is absolutely wrong. Don't do that, okay? But the second thing that people do wrong is they'll put everything there. The name of the article, the date, and blah, blah. Again, that's wrong too. Notice how simple and short it is. Walsh 2, okay? That's when you do it this way, right? But that's not the way I had it, right? The way I had it was this other way. I'm doing Control Z on my keyboard or backspace here. I mean, not backspace, but this back arrow for undoing. I had it like that, right? According to Walsh, blah, 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 and just the page number in parentheses. Okay, and then the rest of the paragraph continued. All right, now let me show you let me show you another version of my essay where I used a different article, okay? So for this one, I don't need to do that. I already have it open. It's right over here. Okay, so here is my same essay. This time, I quoted another article, according to McKay. And what is this McKay article? Well, let's find it. Here is you know what? I think I did something wrong here. Here where it says HTTPS, that shouldn't be there. It should just be the www. Okay, so I'm correcting this live right here. And fortunately, this is not the one that I linked as the sample essay or the sample journal, because I made the mistake of leaving the HTTP blah, 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 blah. Okay, no big deal, of course, but it shouldn't include that part. So here it is, done right. Okay, and notice again. Now notice that Perez Hilda is again in second, right? Why? Because the author's name McKay is the first word in the works cited entry, and now Perez is the second. So because M comes before P, all right. And then here's all the details that I got, and let me use this to actually access the article online. Okay, so there it is. And so I like this article. This article is pretty short. I mean, I know it's long, but it's not extremely long, right? And one thing about this one is it doesn't have page numbers. If I print it out, there will be 1, 2, 3 on the various pages of the printout, but printouts don't count, okay? This is a normal web page or web article that doesn't have page numbers shown, okay? So is this one. This one didn't have page numbers. That's why I didn't bother to put a 1 or a 2 or a 27 or whatever page in the parentheses, right? This one does, right? It shows the page numbers. It doesn't show this one because it's the cover sheet, right? But it's really page 1. So 2, 3, 4. That's why I had to mention that my quote, right, which I got from around here, came from page 2. But I have a feeling that in most of your essays, you won't have articles that have the page number. Most web pages don't have them, okay? And so you will not have any responsibility to put it. And if you put the page number from the printout, you're doing it wrong. You're not supposed to print it out, look at the page, oh, so it must be page 2. No, because sometimes the reason for that is that those page numbers are created by the printer. They're not created by the original author. So my quote for this one came from right here. With the deterioration of the United States economy after 1929, between 400,000 and 500,000 Mexicans and their American-born children returned to Mexico. I quoted that. But actually, I quoted from here all the way to, let's see. I think I quoted, yeah, more than half of these departed from Texas. I quoted that. Okay. Okay, well, let's look at it because I know they might have quoted something else. I'm trying to guess when the answer is right there. So here it is. So notice my essay was the same. Blah, blah, blah. My grandfather and his work and all this. The Mexican government was giving away land. Of course, all that comes, none of that came from an article. It came from my mom's interview with my mom. And then according to McKay, there's what I quoted, what I was reading, right? More than half of these came from Texas. Okay, here are the dots. I quoted more than what I just showed you about a minute ago. In 1939, so where is that? I know it's there. That's where I got it. Ah, here it is. So I quoted from here to here, and then the dots represent that I skipped most of this stuff because it was too much. Remember, the quote can't be too long. Right here. Then in 1939, a significant number of Mexicans were repatriated from the state by the Mexican government. So I quoted from here to here, skipped a bunch of stuff, and then quoted this part. So with the deterioration of the United States, between many Mexicans and American children, American-born children returned to Mexico. More than half of these were repatriated from Texas. In 1939 and continued to 1940, a significant number of Mexicans were repatriated from the state by the Mexican government. So this is also a very good quote, right? Because it's just like what my mom told me about in the interview. And then it continues, Pancho did this and that with the land and blah, 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 right? And notice how I did it. I had an author's name, right? The author's name is McKay. It's shown right at the beginning, right? And so all the information I needed was there. And that's how I created my works cited entry, right, with the information. The date only showed 2020. Oh, and let me show you that. I couldn't find like a specific date. The only thing I found was way at the bottom where it said, and you can't see it. It's below the area, but it says copyright 2020. Okay, it's below the area that's visible in the video. But right below the area, at the very bottom, it says copyright 20. You know, there's a way to do this. I'll drag it around until you can see it. Let me give just a moment here. I'm trying to drag it, and for some reason, okay, one more thing, right there. Okay, I'm dragging this so that I can put it in a visible place for you. Okay, there it is. Copyright 2020. So that's the only date I found, so that's what I used. Okay. Doesn't have the month, doesn't have the specific date, but what's wrong with that? No problem. So 2020 was my date, and I accessed it today on 16th of November, abbreviated November 2020. Okay. And so for this one, the author was available, but it's going to be different than the second example that I showed you because it won't have a page number. Here it is. According to McKay, comma, blah, 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 blah. And then it just ends with the quotation mark. And then I just keep going. No parentheses because I'm not putting parentheses page 2 or 3 or whatever, because it doesn't officially, it doesn't physically show the page numbers. If it doesn't, then it really doesn't have official page numbers. Okay, so we don't put them. The alternative method to this, and of course you can say in an article by McKay, comma, it says, comma, and then the quote, right? That's another way if we're not using the very convenient according to method, okay? Or the other direction is to mention McKay at the end in a parentheses. And remember, no page number because there aren't any official ones. So I can just take McKay, I'm going to cut it. Okay, there it is, I'm cutting his name. And I'm just starting with the quote. And then at the end of the quote over here, I'll open a parentheses. I have to do something, I have to get rid of this period, right? I'm gonna put his name, McKay. No page number because there isn't any, and then the period comes at the end. So look at that, right? See, there it is. Very similar to the sample I actually posted, right? Which was the one where over here it has a title because there wasn't an article, right? In the first example. In this one though, it's got the quote, and I don't put the title because I have something better than the title. I have the author's last name. That is the main method, okay? And to look at the title, no problem. We've got the works cited for the title. There it is, right? So what I've done, I hope at this point you're not saying, sir, I'm really confused. I don't like when students say that, and let me tell you why. Because the reason that I've done it 3 different ways, and in each different example I've done it 2 different ways, is that you have different ways of doing it. You pick the method you want, okay? And so don't say, sir, I'm confused because you told me a lot of stuff. I told you a lot of stuff to show you that you have many alternatives, many ways of doing it right. And the way I learned how to do that, which you can do that too, right? Learn from this lady right here is talking to you, right? You can learn just the way I learned, by reading the format, reading the examples, and learning how to do it different ways. So don't blame me, all right? If MLA format is confusing, it's not my fault. And I took the time to show you 3 different articles where three essays that were the same, but I used a different article in each one, and I showed you 2 different methods to do it for each one, right? So I've been really patient. I hope you are patient too as you study these examples. And if you have any questions, just contact me as soon as possible and I'll answer your questions. All right, that's it. Here's the last thing. The last thing I want to mention for this, and I'm actually going to close this because I'm starting to get a little dizzy with so many windows open. So allow me to take a few seconds to close these items here. Okay. All right. So the last thing to do here is the image or chart. Okay, we don't need any of this for that. And actually, we're done with the journal. The journal, now you know how to do it because it was just the 3 body paragraphs. So now I'm explaining something that goes beyond, okay? I'm explaining about information for the essay. What happened to the instructions? Here they are. Here are the instructions. But let me bring back my sample essay. Okay, so we go to essay 3. This is inside the week 13 folder. We go to the right here where it says sample essay. So I brought it back because I closed the Word documents that had the sample. And just to be clear, this is the one that is posted, but I gave you some alternatives. One of the instructions, and I think this is just to make the essay more cool, right? A funner kind of product that includes an image instead of just words, right? Essays 1 and 2, I told you, do not put any images or anything like that. No fancy stuff. For this one, I want at least 1 image, right? And so on the 3rd page of the instructions, it says, I'm sorry, it's not there. It's on the, I think is the fourth. Here it is. In one of the essay's paragraph, your choice, you must mention an image, chart, graph, or similar item that somehow relates to your family member and paste the image, chart, graph, or similar item on the last page of the essay. Note the following. At the top of the last page, please center the word figure. And then don't type descriptive title of the image. Actually give it a descriptive title. And it could be an image, chart, graph, or similar item. The easiest thing to do is a photo. Under the title, paste the image, chart, graph, or similar item, most likely a photo. And then directly under the image, chart, or graph, or similar item, please center a statement indicating where you got the item. For example, that it's a family picture, or maybe the www, right, if it's a website, where you got it from. Or basically explain where it is. All right, so you've already seen it, and I'll show it to you again. But okay, before I show you the image itself, here was my introduction. Again, just to be clear, don't say, sir, I'm confused. Please don't say that. Don't get confused. We're done with the journal. I was done with that a while ago. I mean, when we finished the whole citations and everything a few minutes ago. Right now, I'm going beyond the journal and telling you about the image. Okay, this is for the essay. That's why, the introduction was not part of the journal, but there it is. This was part of the journal, right? Body paragraph A. And I explained the whole thing about the citations, how to give credit to the author and put the quote and all that from an article. Here is the second body paragraph. Here is the third body paragraph, right? Body paragraph B, body paragraph C, and then the conclusion. In my second body paragraph, I say here that I learned a bit about Pancho's personality. Then I talked about his personality, things he liked to do and things he liked to say and what he was like and all that. I come to a sentence that says he wore dress shirts and pants as well as ties while carrying out his farmer's committee duties. He was very formal the way he dressed. And I thought this would be the perfect place to say see figure. Figure means some kind of photo, some kind of chart, some kind of graph, some kind of something visual besides words. And so here's what I didn't do. You can tell that I didn't do it. I didn't put the picture right here in the paragraph. That's a big mess. Don't do that. Okay? Do not type your sentences, then stick a paragraph here and then continue the paragraph. You will probably do it wrong. Okay? It's not impossible to do, but it's difficult to do, and why mess with it? There is a way to do it that's much easier and less messy. Okay? So this is a promise. See figure. In other words, take a moment to see a figure and then keep reading. So at that point, the whoever's reading, let's say you're reading this essay, you can just keep reading and then eventually look at the figure, or you can pause and go look at the figure. So where do you find it? You scroll down. There's the works cited. You find it at the very end. Ah, there it is. Figure, period. That's important. Put a period. And then I put my descriptive title of the figure, which is, I just put his name, Francisco Pancho Mujica. I might have, maybe I should have put Francisco. Well, you know what? I don't know when this picture was taken. If I had known, I could have put Francisco Pancho Mujica in 1971 or something. I don't know. But I don't know that. But, feel free to add a little more detail than I did, but I don't know when this was taken. So I just put Francisco Pancho Mujica, that's the title, right? Figure, and then the descriptive title, there it is. And then here's my explanation, family picture. Now imagine that I had done something else, that I had put a graph or a chart or something from a website. Then it would have said figure, the title of the graph or chart or whatever. And then over here it would have said www. blah, 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 blah. Right? But in my case, I just explained in the shortest, briefest way possible, family picture. This is something that is in my family. I own this picture. Okay? That's where I got it. Okay? It's a great picture, isn't it? I often think of this picture. And like I said, I like he was wearing a tie and of course my dad never wears ties, very seldom. But he's a great person too. But to me, it's really impressive that he was very formal, and that as you'll read in the essay, you'll see that he did a lot of work, and he took it very seriously, and part of that was being formal in the way that he dressed. Okay. Good advice. That's something that's kind of getting lost in this generation, in these days. It shouldn't be. Okay, we should be serious and do things in a serious manner, and we should also have fun. But there's a time and a place for everything, right? So I'm very impressed by that. I hope you are too. And so I've done it. I've done what it says in the instructions. Okay, pretty simple, and I just think it's a way to spruce up the essay in a meaningful way. All right, that was something beyond what's required in the journal, but that I wanted to take the time to explain. Students, if for your journal 13 you turn in the whole essay, that's fine. Okay, I will not grade the introduction, I will not grade the conclusion, and I won't grade your works cited, and I won't grade the image. But maybe, and I'm not sure, I don't think I'm going to have time to give you feedback on that. But if I do, I will. All right, but first I have to look at the body paragraphs. Body paragraphs A, B, and C. Give everybody feedback on that. And if I still have time left over, I'll go back and give feedback to students who gave me the whole essay. All right, and tell you, well, your works cited doesn't look right, or where's the image, it's missing, or something. But again, you know, the easiest thing is just give me the body paragraphs, don't give me the other stuff, right? Again, the only reason I explained it was so that you would have that explanation somewhere. And rather than create another video, right, with another set of explanations, I just included it in this one. So that's it. We're already at 93, close to 93 minutes. So I'm going to sign off. Remember, this is I hope you're enjoying writing this essay. From the few that I've seen in journals, I think people are having a good time with this, and I hope it's not just meaningful as an assignment, but also as part of your life, the way you chronicle, you write things down about your life, things that are important to you and to your family. All right, so thank you for watching this video. I hope it was useful. And I'll talk to you later. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.